Good morning and welcome to today's episode of the Christ Project, where we're opening hearts, opening minds to the possibility of a new world based on love, compassion. And it isn't it exciting? That's what the Christ Project is. It is a co-creation of a world manifest out of love. And we're very, very excited today to have a very, very courageous young man named Gaetano. I'm going to let him introduce himself in a second. Gaetano, just say hello for a second, okay? Say hello and tell us where you are right now.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be part of this platform of this show that is live, that is being followed by so many people around the world. By names, I'm Gaetano Abiwekango, currently an LGBTQI plus community here in Zambia seeking for asylum. So that's where I am basically at the moment, my
Yeah,
current location.
you are live actually in the refugee camp. And it's really nice because as we both know, and what people may not know is that these are kind of rare opportunities because the network is not so good, the power is not always good. So it's not always that we can get this great, clear of a communication with you, Gaetano. So I'm really grateful that you were able to join me today for this live broadcast because people need to understand what the impact of the Uganda passing the Anti-Homosexuality Act of 2023, the impact it's having on Africans, all Africans, not just LGBTQ Africans, but all Africans who live in the margins. So people hear from me all the time, but they don't get a chance to hear from you, Gaetano. Tell us a little bit about your story, whatever you're comfortable with, where you come from, what you're doing. Just give us a little history of who you are and why you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kintu, my co-host on this broadcast or podcast. Basically, if I'm to talk about my brief background, by names, I'm Gaetano Abiwekango. I was born on 24th of August, that is 1996. By then, I was born actually in a village called Angal. That is where I was born. That is in the northern district. That is in the north of Uganda. That's where I was born. So basically, when I was born, I didn't know actually. I didn't know when you are still young, you can't get to know about your sexuality and gender identity until maybe you go through. It is through a process of actually self-reflection, exploration, and experiences that you go through. So at the end of it all, actually, by the age of around 18 years, 16 years, that's when I started realizing that that's when I started actually uh, getting to know where I fall, getting to know my sexual orientation and the gender identity, because I had actually crushes on so many people. I had crushes on my same sex same sex I had crushes on people of the same gender with me, and I had actually a lot of experiences in different relationship with other colleagues, and I had also friends who supported me with my gender identity and the sexuality. So at the end of it all, actually, it brought me a lot of issues. So my family really didn't want actually to hear about it, because in Africa generally, it's very hard actually for an African to believe that uh, uh, actually that someone coming out to say that I'm a gay or bisexual or lesbian, it's like an abomination. It's like Sodom and Gomorrah, as they used to term it in the Bible. So at the end of it all, actually, my family rejected me. So when my family rejected me, actually, I had nowhere to run to. I had nowhere to go. So life was really difficult for me. That was in way back in 2017, when my uncle throw me out of the house. And when my uncle threw me out of the house, my dad was like, I'm no longer part of his family. I'm no longer part of their family because of who I am, because of coming out to say that me actually I'm a gay, and um I'm a gay person. So at the end of it all, being a homosexual in Africa generally, it is like a curse. It is like a punishment to each and everyone. So coming out actually to stand with the gay community that is in Uganda, or anywhere else in Africa. It's like sacrificing for the rest, because I know there are so many issues that are going on, but most of the people actually don't want to come out. Actually, they have that stigma. They know that once they come out, there are a lot that will be a lot that will happen. Going back actually, now we're back in Uganda actually, when the 2023 Anti-Homosexuality Act of Uganda, or the bill that was passed in May, that was 2023, it affected most of us actually. It made most of us actually to flee our country, to seek for asylum in other countries where at least we do have protection of protection, and also we are in a country where we are able to exercise our human rights as human beings, because at the end of it all, it is God who created us. So no human being should judge one another because of who they are. So when that bill was passed, actually, it really tortured us, and most of us actually couldn't withstand, because at the end of it all, actually, the person, if you are caught in the act, or near, even where even if the suspect of where you are renting, or maybe where you are having a house where to stay in, if they suspect that you are a gay, or maybe you're homosexual, at the end of it all, it would affect even the land, actually the person who is the person is in charge of that place where you are staying, and also maybe the colleagues, that even if they see you with most of your friends that were visiting you at a place where you are staying are male, people also get suspicious. So at the end of it all, in Uganda, you are unable to experience, actually to express your human rights as a person. So you find like you are denied from so many services basically. So at the end of it all, you find that life was becoming more and more difficult. Like you could reach out to the LGBTQ organizations, you would get the help, but that help would not be all that enough. Remember, you are being discriminated from employment, discriminated from education, discriminated from accessing the basic services like health and other utilities. So you find like it is very difficult to survive. And the most important thing, like as the youth, as a young person, I have actually, you have a bright future. You have so many things actually to do, or maybe say, so many things to think about. So at the end of it all, it forced us actually to flee our country, to seek actually help from surrounding countries. At first, actually, I thought of going to Kenya, but at the end of it all, actually, Kenya was more worse. The life of refugees or asylum seekers, or mostly the LGBTQI plus community in Kenya, it's worse. I know whatever that is going on there, Martin can really tell what is going on in Kenya. So I decided, no, let me just try the Southern African countries so that we can see how things will go. At the end of it, actually, we left our country and flee. We did not leave our country on our own wish. We left it because of family rejection, because actually the government itself could not provide us with the protection that we needed. So we are denied actually access to so many services. So there are so many arrests and detention that is done by the police. So you find that even the media and the judicial system, plus the police, are the people who are promoting or homophobic. They are the ones who are homophobic to each and every individual that belongs to the LGBTQI community that is in Uganda. So at the end of it, you find like you are not safe at all where you are. So it is until when maybe that's when we decided to flee our country. That was around July, and we left our country to come and seek for asylum in Zambia, where at least we would be resettled in a country where we would have actually we would maybe have a safer environment to express ourselves as general. But after reaching Zambia here, life wasn't all that easy. We got a lot of hardships via registration by the government of Zambia. And at the end of it all, because even Zambia itself is not all that different from Uganda. So when the government actually, by then actually the government had decided that it's not registering any LGBTQI individual, but at the end of it all, actually, when they went with the consensus, when they went for a meeting and maybe they come with a consensus, maybe a memorandum of understanding with UNHCR Zambia, they managed to register us. When we got registered, actually, life was a little bit difficult. Remember, you've left your country with nothing. You came out actually running, maybe to survive. You left your country running to avoid arrest and detention by the police, or maybe to avoid persecution that was actually issued after the passing out of the Anti-Homosexual Act that was passed by the Parliament of Uganda. So the president also consulted about it, but at the end of it all, you find like you could not stay in Uganda and you have a peace of mind. So when we reached here, Zambia, life was a little bit hard. Life was very, very, very difficult. Remember, you're coming in a country whereby you don't know even the, yeah, you know that the country is also homophobic against actual LGBTQ individuals. You find like it is really, really hard. So at the end of it all, like when we got registered, life was a little bit hard. We lacked a lot of things. We lacked the access to basic needs of life. We lacked access to basic health services. We lacked actually access to basic safe housing, because at the end of it, actually, when we came this side in Makeni or in a refugee camp, we are given tents where we could have actually a night to stay, or maybe where we would stay permanently. So life is really difficult here in Makeni Transit Center. As a refugee, we are facing a lot of difficulties. I'm not alone here in Makeni Transit Center. We have a group of Ugandan asylum seekers who are here. There are so many, there are around 35 of them, but most of them, you find like everyone is looking for a way of surviving. So we are here actually under the protection of UNHCR and the UNHCR Zambia and the government of Zambia when we got registered. But however much we got registered, life hasn't been all that easy. You find that even UNHCR doesn't give us the full support that we need. The only thing that they provide to us is protection. But even the protection they talk about is not all that 100%. You find like most of the time actually there are so many incidences that happen in the transit center. Like you find like you are discriminated by the officials. Even the refugees themselves discriminate you because of being homosexual. You find that you are denied so many services within Makeni here, like health services. You don't get better health services here. You find like if you're Ugandan, you are discriminated more than other refugees from other nationalities. So it is really difficult for us to survive in this kind of environment if at all we don't have any help from coming from outside, and maybe coming from outside, because actually the local LGBTQI organization that are here in Zambia they have never come out actually to support us. They have never come out actually to help us with anything. Whenever we try to reach out to them, actually they stick to the law. Actually, they stick to the bill of the Anti-Homosexual Act because of Zambia, because they are also fearing like if at all they come out to help us, actually most of them actually their licenses, their operating license will be cancelled. So at the end of it, you'll find like they will have no people to help. However much they forget that even in their country, they have so many homosexuals, of which actually we interact with them, and the most times actually if we go out, we have actually those apps for the gay community whereby at least you interact with people and maybe you get to date other peoples, maybe from within the region or maybe within the place where you are. So you find there are so many, and the government forget that its country itself also has homosexuals, because homosexuals are everywhere, because you can't deny the feeling that you have inside. It is
Well,
an inbuilt feeling.
yeah,
So
let me just add something. We know that the way it turns out that about 10% of the population of the world fit somewhere on the LGBTQI spectrum. They fit somewhere in that category. That's 10%. And there are more people in Africa than anywhere in the world. So for that, if 10% of the country, one of the largest continents in the world, with one of the largest populations in the world, Africa has got millions of gay people, LGBTQ people. That's a fact. That's a reality. And they don't want,
yeah,
and the governments do not want to acknowledge that as a reality. It's a shame, because there's a lot of, we call it the Diamond Mine Academy because there's a lot of brilliant people like you who could really be adding to the gross national product of the country. You could be adding, if they would include these brilliant minds of yours and get beyond their fear of gay people. They're hurting themselves. They could be a lot more powerful, a lot richer. In the United States, the gay population We in the United States, we add $1.5 trillion to the country's GDP. If the United States was a country, we'd be the 10th largest country, the 10th largest GDP producing country in the world. So just imagine how much money, how much economic loss Africa is losing because of their stupidity, really, their fear of homosexuality. And from my experience, it's not something that is natural to the African people. African people, from what I know, are not especially homophobic. They learned this from white colonization. They learned this from white people. They learned this from the Anglican Church, which came from white people from England. They learned this homophobia from American evangelicals who've come over there to stir up trouble. This is not normal for African people. It's centuries old because they've been occupied for centuries. Well, they're not occupied anymore, but they were occupied. And it's that power that's been given up. So part of what we want to do is we want to wake up the African government. That's not going to happen probably this week. What do we need? What do you need us to do in America? What do you want us in America and Europe and countries where we have the right to be free? What do you want us to know more than anything else? How can we help you and how can we support you? I know financial support is something that you need desperately, and we can talk more about that later. And there are opportunities we're going to provide for people to help provide financial support so we can buy you food. But tell us a little bit about more. What else can we do to help support you in America?
Thank you so much, Mr. Martin, for that comment. Basically, actually, if I'm to talk about actually the life that we are going through here, and maybe the help maybe that we need people to do for us. Basically, first of all, actually, it's all about one. I would love to have the freedom to exercise my human rights as a person. That is actually if I'm relocated, maybe if I'm resettled from this country actually to a country of my interest, like the US, I would be able actually to do everything freely. That is the first thing. So secondly, actually, would love to
Let's stick with that
travel.
one. So one thing that could be really helpful for us in America is to be more willing to open up the opportunities for you that are stuck in countries like Zambia, where they don't want
Yeah.
you, they won't accept you as an LGBTQ.
Yes.
You can't get,
Yes.
so you got to go somewhere where you can be accepted. So one of the things we could do is
Yes.
find a way for us to open up the opportunity, the
Mm,
pathway for you to
mm,
seek asylum in the United States and Canada and other places. But I'm in the United States. We'll talk about the United States. So
yeah.
that's one thing we can do is we can look at how do we talk to our governments. And some good news. We're gonna have a new government here soon. We've got a good government now. We're going to have an even better new generation of governments when we elect this wonderful, brilliant, amazing uh, Black woman to be our next president, and her running mate Tim Scott. That's going to change a lot of things in America. So I think we might be able to get more attention from the government. We have this younger, new generation of people who truly do care about people like you around the world. So that's one thing, and we can all keep once we get this new administration in power, and we will. It's a little scary here right now because it's running neck to neck. We don't quite know what's going to happen, but I feel pretty comfortable that Kamala's going to win this thing, and she's going to win it by a lot. I think it's what it's going to come down to in the last few minutes here, but we ain't gotten there yet. But when that happens, I think we're going to have opportunity to be able to get maybe more attention to make your opportunities to come to America a little less challenging. So that's one thing we can do. What else do you think we could do to help you?
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, that is one of the things that we need because Africa, as general, we cannot actually we are not given that opportunity. Our rights are limited here in Africa. So, secondly, actually, I would love to talk about maybe some food relief fund because actually food relief fund and maybe other basic support like in terms of actually clothing, in terms of water, in terms of actually in terms of electricity, internet, because basically here, as in Zambia, as the LGBT or maybe as homosexuals, we are not allowed even to work. We are not allowed to do anything here. So basically what we do here, we wake up in the morning, there's nothing to do. You think about what to eat, you think about maybe what to dress up, you think about the water and maybe where to go. Even the health services, actually, it's still alarming. Still alarming, because if at all we have maybe we have transport maybe to take us to those other LGBTQI hospitals or facilities, it will even be better, because we cannot be sharing the same facilities or health services with people who are homophobic, because we know even in Zambia here, they are so homophobic about they are so homophobic against the homosexuals. If at all they get to know that you're a gay person or you're a lesbian or bisexual, definitely here in Zambia it is not all that different from Uganda. It is here, it is even more worse. So at the end of it all, find like you are living in fear, you are living in under you are living in fear, you are traumatized. So we call for help from wherever it is. Actually, we call for help from international organizations. We call for help and support from other organizations internationally, so that like
Yeah, I
we
want to stop you for a moment. There's a fellow that can you see on the screen where someone's said we need to stop this LGBTQ activist statement on your shows because people who do the front line say community members. What could you address that? Because we've talked about that. We've talked about whether you should be out there as an activist vocally asking for help, or is it too risky? So why don't you address? And you decided that you wanted to come on and talk about this. Would you address this fellow's statement?
I beg your pardon, Mr. Martin, I didn't get you well.
Can you see the statement from this guy Hajati? Can you see the statement across the screen? He thinks we
I've
should
not.
stop this kind of activism. What do you think about that? I'd like to
Uh,
hear your comments on it.
Mr. Martin, actually, that person who say that we should stop this kind of activism, that is a person actually who is homophobic. Because if you are not homophobic against the LGBTQI plus, you cannot come out and say that we should stop this kind of activism. Because at the end of it all, there are so many people outside there who are like me, who actually there are so many people outside there who are in the same situation, or maybe who cannot come out maybe to talk about to themselves, as I've come out to express myself and say that yeah, I'm a gay person and I'm here, I'm calling for support from all over the world. So it takes courage and it takes sacrifice for someone to come out and say, yeah, this is who I am, and this is a life I went through. So at the end of it, you'll find like if at all you are able to support me, or if at all you find like whatever that I'm talking about, it's interesting. So come out and support us, because at the end of it all, like there are so many people in Africa. Not only there are so many people in African countries. Basically, that's where I'm talking about, because that's where I'm found. So if at all we come out and support these actually LGBTQ persons or individuals who are there in the communities, you find like all these homophobic attacks, all this discrimination, all these other all these other things that happen to LGBTQ individuals wouldn't happen. So it is really hard if at all we don't have actually people who can come out and maybe address the community where we are to stop their homophobic attack against, because it is not actually, in most cases actually most of the people think that being a gay or a homosexual, it is a Western culture, or we got maybe this thing from a Western culture. It is not a Western culture, because if at all it was a Western culture, you find like most of the people who are supporting us are coming from the West. So if we keep on saying that is the Western culture that was was inoculated in us, it would really be a wrong thing. So at the end of the day, we find like most of the people who are here in Africa, me personally, I say being a homosexual, it is an inborn feeling that someone gets from since childhood. Because in childhood you cannot get to realize, or you cannot discover yourself immediately that you're a gay person or a lesbian. But as time goes on, you discover yourself that maybe this is how I feel, or this is the feeling that I have towards maybe someone. Because homosexuality is not all that. It's not something that someone just learned from just learn from the blue. It is something that is inside of you. The feeling that you have is not actually learned. It's something that you get inside, that I'm attracted to this kind, or I'm attracted to my fellow gender. So it's not something that someone should say that coming out to talk about the active. I don't remember the question very well, but coming out actually as activist to spread actually maybe important message to people, or to reach out to people so that like they can be accepted in the community where they are. It is very important, because at the end of the day, we are all human beings. God created us in the same way as created other people. So
I don't know. You got somebody out there pretty upset that we're out there trying to raise money for your causes. I don't quite understand what that's about, but keep going. I think that it's just a lot of confusion out there in Africa. But one of the things we want to talk about, let's just say let's talk about what would you do if what do you need money for? Talk about that. Talk about ask people to consider. We've told the story. Now the thing is, we want people to consider making a donation. We have a company called the Diamond Mine Academy, and we're a tax-free organization, and we have a special funding page specifically for Zambia. It's called the Zambia Refugee Victory Fund, and we'll post it in the chat later. But that's an opportunity for people to donate directly to support you, and it's a separate fund from everything else. It's specifically for Zambia refugees like Gaetano. So talk a little bit about and just for yourself, how would it mean to you if someone were to give. Let's talk about something simple. Let's say, what can $35 do? Like if someone wanted to donate $35, help them understand what $35 would do in your location.
Thank you so much, Mr. Martin. If at all, in case of any support that do come, if at all you want to reach out to us in terms of funds, or maybe if you want to support us as the LGBTQ community here in Zambia, basically you can reach out to Mr. Chintu. Is the point of contact to us. But if at all I'm to answer his question about the $35, if at all it is given to us, there are a lot of things that we can do with that money. Because as I've told you before, that I'm not the only person here who is going through this kind of hardship that we are going through here as refugees or asylum seeker in Zambia. I told we a group of Ugandan asylum community here. So at the end of the day, if at all we avail with that kind of support and maybe funds, we find like we shall have to buy food with it. We shall have to use it for paying water bills. We shall have to use it for buying maybe bundles or internet, so that we can connect with the world, maybe other with other LGBTQ refugees or in other countries. So we shall find that we have to buy actually to buy blankets and other things, because even the ones that we have actually that was given to us by UNHCR, you are given one thing, and that thing you are given one blanket, so that blanket takes long. You have to stay with it, so we cannot continue having only one blanket at the same time. So at the end of it all, we find like it will help us a lot. We can start up some project that can help us with income generating. We can start up a income generating project that will maybe generate for us money, and we stop maybe asking for money from maybe crying out to people maybe to help us with money, because at the end of, if we are not, we are not allowed to work. So if we get such kind of money, we can start up a project that can keep up busy. So it will really be a lot. It will help us a lot in terms of food, in terms of accessing basic health services, good health services, good
Yeah,
housing.
it sounds like if we could get some help, get us started, you know, maybe if we could get a couple of $1,000 once to get us started, get you some decent places to live, buy you food, take care of some necessities so you're not hungry all the time. But the real thing is this: most money today is made on the internet. You're bright people. If we could acquire for you, if we could raise money to purchase for you things like internet connection and Chromebooks and good equipment to access the internet, then you all, the 30 of you or 35 of you living in the refugee camp, while you're there, could be plugged into the internet and making money. Is that it? And we're doing that. We've got that. We're doing that. So one of the things to help you to empower you, you know, is not just give us some fish, but hey, if you could give us enough, if you could not only give us a little bit, give us a few fish to get us by, but you could give us some nets and some tools so that we could go out there and actually begin to make money, and we become empowered. And that's the real chronic problem with LGBTQ people in Africa, is the fact that you don't have, without any kind of economic empowerment. That's what we really need to do, is we need to fund you and help you get to a place of economic empowerment so that you're self-sustaining, and then you're not out begging for us Europeans to keep feeding you fish. You actually can feed yourself. So it's two things. It's one, you're out there by yourself. This is the first time I've ever had a chance to somebody willing to go online and actually tell the story. And thank you for doing that. But now what we got to do is we got to not only help you eat and take care of your medical bills and those kind of things so that you can live like anybody else, because you can't live in there. But the big thing is to give you the opportunity to empower yourselves financially and be able to become independent on the internet while you're, excuse me, in the process of seeking asylum in the United States.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Martin. Actually, what you've talked about is true. Actually, if at all we have internet, we are able, because these days actually money is made on social media platforms. So, and social media platform has a lot of things. There's Facebook, there's LinkedIn, there's actually Instagram. So, at the end of it, if we get that money, actually, basically, it will empower us actually to start up a project that will help all of us. Do you think, coming out to say
Excuse me.
that you need help, you need support from different people, it's hectic, it's tiresome. Actually, people get tired of you. So once at least you get that money and start up some project that can really raise funds for you, or maybe keeps on making for you money on a daily basis, then all these cries and maybe and other things wouldn't be there. And the most important thing actually is the most important thing, as you keep on waiting for our RSD interviews next year. So if at all you get something that can keep you busy, at the end of the world, actually, you find like a year is gone, because even the RSD, we don't even know when we shall have it. We don't even know when we shall be resettled in our countries of interest, like USA. So it is really hard. So if at all you have something that can keep us busy, you find like all these actually, all these persecution, all these homophobic attacks, all these actually discrimination that we are facing, it will be actually limited. It will be minimal, because you find like every time you're waking up, you have some other thing that will keep you busy. So it's really, really, really hard. So I want to really thank you, Mr. Martin, for coming up with this kind of platform where at least we can exercise, maybe, or call for help from every angle, and we are able to advocate for ourselves, because basically coming out, you are able to advocate for yourself as a person, and also actually speak out to the world that we do exist. Because if at all if this platform grows, there are so many people who keep following up on this platform, and the platform keep on growing, they will know that there are certain group of LGBTQ people in Zambia, in South Sudan, in Kenya, and other countries, to mention but a few. We are not the only people who are there, but there are so many Africans who are there, who are going through the same kind of difficulties that we are going through. So at the end of it all, if this streaming keeps on going, developing, so many people will be reached out, and so many people will get help through it. So I want to really appreciate you for your endless effort and support towards us. So as we look forward to see how things will go, we really want to appreciate you for all the support, and everything that you've done for us. Thank you so much, Mr. Martin Cowart. Thank you so much.
Well, Gaetano is absolutely. I just love you so much, brother. I've gotten to know you in the last few months, and I've gotten to know your friends, and you're just beautiful people. And it just breaks my heart that you're living in such horrible conditions under such a. I can't imagine waking up every night, every day, of fear that somebody finds out more about me, they might actually kill me or report me to the police. I just can't imagine how horrible that must be. I must feel every day. So anything I can do to help you is my joy and pleasure. I will say that we will post a link to the replay. This will be a replay. As you know, I'll post a link where people can actually go in and make a donation to we call it the Zambia Refugee Victory Fund, and we have a special funding page that you can go right to, and I'll provide that link to people in the replay description and the comment section, so people can go right to that link and make a donation of any amount they want. We are a 501c3 organization in the United States, so your donations are tax deductible. And then also, if there are people out there who can help us in other ways, support us, if you've got connections in the government, or you know people who can help us make the connections to get this story out there, please share it. Because there are two things that have to happen. One, people have to become aware of the problem. You know, I'm amazed here in America how many people still aren't aware that there's actually genocide happening in Africa every day now because of these laws. Our brothers and sisters are literally being killed every day, legally by your standards. And it's just got to stop. And the only way I can do it is just to get people who have the courage like you got to talk about it and raise money so we can help you live there, and we can bring the world know about what's going on there. This is what's happening in Africa. There are things happening in Ukraine. There are things happening in Gaza that are just as equally is heartbreaking. But right now we're talking about the crisis in Africa. And thank you so much, Gaetano, for coming on today and sharing your story and your heart with the world. And I just love you so much, brother. And I can't thank you enough for coming on and being part of my show today.
Thank you thank you too, Mr. Martin. We love you. I love you too, and we are really glad and we appreciate your work for whatever kind of help, for each and every day that you come out to help an African like me, because I know we are so many actually in this planet where we are. So it really takes the courage, and it really takes actually it takes the courage, and it comes from the heart, because not everyone can come out and say that let me help this group of people. It's from the heart. So at the end of it all, it is a God-given gift. So we really want to appreciate you for all the support, and maybe coming out to say you can be of help to us. So we really appreciate you, and we really love you for that braveness that you took as a leader. Thank you so much, Mr. Martin.
And I will give you the last word, brother. Thank you.
All right.